Hi guys, to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're making the classic chicken noodle soup. It is a comfort food that we all know and love. We probably all had it growing up, but if you haven't, this is a recipe that's going to become your go-to because it is the best that I've ever tried so far. So much flavor, so much comfort, so delicious. It's perfect if you're feeling a little bit under the weather or if you want something quick and easy to make for your family. This is it. Let's get started. Okay, so over here I have 5 chicken leg quarters that all I did was I drizzled some olive oil over them, sprinkled salt and pepper on both sides, and then I roasted them in the oven at 525 degrees Fahrenheit in a really hot oven for 15 minutes. I didn't even flip them over because I wanted the chicken to get that beautiful golden color. It is still not fully cooked through because we're going to continue to cook it in the soup. I just wanted it to get that color because it adds flavor. Instead of doing it this way in the oven, if you want to, you can brown them in the same pot that you're going to make the soup in. The reason I don't do that is because it just cooks faster while you're cooking the onions and, you know, the onions, what is it called, the carrot and the celery. The chicken pretty much does its thing, gets its color in the oven. So you don't have to wait. But if time is not an issue and you don't want one more thing to clean, go ahead and do that on the stovetop in the soup pot. You might have to do it in 2 batches, but just so maybe 5 minutes on each side so that way they can get that nice brown color. And the pot is going to get the beautiful brown bits that are going to add tons and tons of flavor. So next I have an onion that I'm just going to finely chop. So I'm going to add the onion to the pot. Okay, then I have 2 carrots over here. I'm just going to peel them. I like to peel them even though there is lots of nutrition in the peel, but I don't like how dark it gets, you know, once it's cooked. So I'm just going to take this step and do it. If you like to scrub yours really clean and then chop it up with the skin, that's fine. And then I'm just going to chop both of these carrots up. Do your kids, if you have kids actually, does your family like the carrots in soups? I don't know, we're pretty torn. We're halfway down the middle. Some of us in the house like to pick every vegetable they see out of the soup. Layla's one of those people. And the rest of us, I love the veggies. I guess because I grew up eating them. I don't know, I didn't have a choice. So I ate it and I liked it. I got used to it, but I don't know, what is it with kids these days? They don't like vegetables. Okay, and I have 2 celery sticks here. I'm just gonna cut them up small. I love the flavor of celery. I even like the texture of it because, again, it's one of those things that I ate growing up and it was one of my favorite veggies. I loved it. But some people don't like the texture of it, so if you cut it smaller, it almost melts in the soup and leaves its delicious flavor without, I guess, the texture that a lot of people don't like. Okay, so I'm going to turn my pot over medium-high heat, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, like 2-3 tablespoons of it. And the butter is something that you don't want to leave out. You can actually cook them in all butter. I think butter adds so much more flavor when you're cooking veggies like this. But I'm going to add, what is this, about 2-3 tablespoons of salted butter. And I'm also going to season the veggies with a little bit of salt because we season every step of the way. So our food is super flavorful. And I'm going to cook this over, like I said, medium-high heat for a few minutes until the veggies are nice and soft and golden, maybe about 8 minutes or so. If they start to brown a little too fast, I am going to reduce the heat because I don't want them to get too much color. I just want them to get nice and soft and golden. All right, so the veggies have been cooking for 10 minutes, and I'm not going to cook them anymore because I don't want them to start to melt or anything like that. Now I'm going to add some garlic cloves. I have 4 garlic cloves that I've grated, and I'm just going to put them in and just warm them through for a few seconds. They don't need a lot of time, so that way they don't burn. I'm going to add 2 bay leaves, 2 tablespoons of thyme. This is dried thyme. If you have fresh thyme, you could chop up about a 1/4 cup and put it in there. It all depends how much of that herby flavor you like in there. You could put less. You can leave these herbs out and just put in some oregano, leave them out completely and just garnish it at the end with some parsley. It is totally up to you. Now I'm going to add the chicken, and it did render out some fat. I don't have a problem with it in the soup. If you don't want that in there, then just don't put any of the pan juices in there. But I'm going to add them in there because to me that's flavor. There's hardly any, there's not even that much as you can see, but I'm just going to put it in there. And I'm actually going to rinse it out with a stock You need about 10 cups of chicken stock in here. This is a quick soup. If you want to, you can make your own stock. I have a delicious recipe on the blog. It's very easy to make. It just takes a little bit of time. Anytime, if you're purchasing chicken stock from outside, try to buy the low sodium variety if you can find it, a good quality one, because sometimes they do put too much salt. I like to control the salt in my food. I season my food well. If you've been following me, you'll see that. But sometimes the chicken stocks from outside are ultra salty. Now, this is not conventional, but I do like to add a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric to my soups, especially to chicken soup. It gives it a beautiful golden color. Plus turmeric, as we know right now, has so many health benefits. So I just like to add it to the soup. It's already something healthy. Let's make it a little healthier. And I'm gonna add some black pepper. So then you're going to want to just bring it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, reduce the heat to a simmer and let the chicken simmer in here for about 20 minutes or until it's fully cooked. Then go ahead and take the chicken out. If you can take the bay leaves out at that point, you can take those out and just discard them. Shred the chicken once it's cooled a little bit and then add the chicken back to the pot, and then we're going to add the noodles in when that time comes, but I'll show you what it looks like when it gets there. So I went ahead and I shredded the chicken. I first removed the skin and then I just carefully shredded it. And then I put it back into the soup with 8 ounces of pasta. You can use whatever your favorite pasta is, even though traditionally egg noodles are used. It's just that I hardly ever have those on hand. So I just used the pasta that I did have in the house. You can use anything you like and anything you want. And then add a little bit more salt for the pasta. I added 1/2 teaspoon more salt. I also tasted the broth just to make sure that it did need it. And of course, once you add the pasta, you should add a little bit more salt if you care for it. Let it cook until the pasta is ready. Mine is going to be done in 12-13 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and finely chop up these 2 scallions because I love them as a garnish, along with the leaves of a sprig of rosemary. I'm going to finely chop the rosemary, and I'm also going to finely chop some fresh parsley, and then I'm just going to garnish my soup with it. So now it's up to you how you want to use the garnish. If you want to put it on a plate and everyone can just put it, you know, right on top of their bowl of soup, but I serve things family style in this house, so I'm just going to put it in the pot. I did turn the heat off even though it is bubbling still because there's that residual heat in there. But once those herbs hit the soup, it just smells incredible. I'm also going to squeeze the juice of 1/2 of a lemon in here. The lemon really freshens it up and brightens it up. Trust me, if you just add a little bit in there, it's going to be perfect. And just like that, the soup is ready to be served. So it's time to serve this soup. I like to squeeze a little bit more lemon in my bowl, and I also like to put a little pinch of crushed red pepper flakes. It's not traditional, but it just adds a little bit more warmth. Let's just taste this and see if it's good. The chicken almost burned my mouth, so I had more broth. And the pasta is still super hot, but the broth tastes so delicious. If you guys are serving this in the evening and you want to make the broth in the morning, you can add the pasta right at the very end, or you can pre-cook your pasta and boil it separately. I do recommend you boil it in the soup just so that way it could absorb all of that flavor. This is so comforting, so light, so vibrant from all those delicious herbs. But again, add your favorites. If you're missing something, don't go running out just to buy that one ingredient. Use what you have. There's tons of flavor in this. I think your whole family is going to enjoy this one. The exact measurements are on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. And if you want to learn how to make classic Greek lemony chicken soup, click over here and I'll see you right over there. Yes, us.